thought Michigan, number one, I did not think Josh Gaddis had a great game plan for this game. To me, I thought the
But
flea
did he do
flicker
anything different?
was
Hold on a
just
second.
way too early. Like you hadn't even established the run yet. Like to me, the
But that's why it's a
unfortunate
good
part is,
idea. But that
huh?
hold on a second. Hold on a second. But see, but we like that type of play call from Josh Gaddis, leading up to this game because it's like, oh wow, he's doing some things that are catching people off guard because so early in the season, his team was so vanilla. It was so
I
pounded,
know.
pounded, pounded.
I'm fine with the play call, but you did it before you even established a run. I mean, I think you might have run the ball 2 times before that.
Once. This was on second
That
play.
I mean, that's just like, bro, who's committing to the run at that point? You know what I mean? Like that's my issue with it is you're calling it so early.
Yeah.
I just whatever is what it is because if it works, it's a whole different ball game and difference. But I honestly I think that's not a second play of the game play call. That's like I don't mind you scripting it in the first 15, but not that soon. That needs to be play 7, 8, 9. As far as in the first 15.
But here's the thing
Um,
with this, like that Georgia is imposing on with their front seven, right? And even though running the football is what you do best, like I understand the ideology of like we got to find a way to loosen these guys up a little bit. Like even though this is what we do well, if we just try to come out and just run over this team, they're not the team that we can do that. We're going to do that against easily. We've been saying, me and you have been saying this all year long that eventually there'll be a team that Michigan will play where they're physically not going to be able to just dominate the line of scrimmage, right? Now, it turns out the real team that they had that issue with was today. Like Georgia was just one of those front sevens where you're not going to just line up and run it down their throat. They're just too strong and physical up front, right? So I can understand going from a game planning standpoint, but like, okay, early, let's try to find additional ways to loosen up the defense. You know what I'm saying? So like that's why I get where you're coming from, but I didn't mind the flea flicker. I just thought that the Georgia safeties did a really good job of like making sure they didn't get because eventually if you watch the replay, the linebackers bit, right? It was a safeties who did a good job of communicating once they saw it was a flea flicker. So I mean, look, I didn't have much of an issue with it. I mean, from a play calling standpoint, I thought Gaddis approached this game just like he has the last few weeks. I didn't see anything out of ordinary. So that's why I'm like, well, this is pretty much how he calls a game. Did you see?
I do disagree. I think so. The thing is you could take 15 plays and they can look great depending on how you sequence them, and they can also look poor based on how you sequence them, and that's part of being an offensive coordinator. And I just for me, and I can accept if I'm just off on it or whatever. My standards are off, but I don't think he did a great job of sequencing those plays correctly. And I do think there needs to be a difference of if you get the ball first, how those plays are sequenced, and it's 0-0 versus someone else, the other team getting the ball first, and it's you're down 7. Like I think those things are very important. But at the end of the day, like kind of is what it is. I don't think those first 15 plays would have had a huge difference or an outcome on this game today.
What did you think about Harbaugh's decision to go forward on fourth down with their second possession when they were down 7-0? What was that, the 42, 41 of the Georgia line?
And they ended up kicking a field goal for that, right?
No,
or no, they didn't.
They didn't convert. This is in the first quarter. Of course, Georgia goes up 7-0. Michigan gets the football. We move the ball a little bit. It gets, I think, the 40 or 41 of Georgia, 42, something like that. They go forward on fourth down. I think it was 4th and 3.
I think it might have been 4th and 4, 4th and 5. I will say, because of one of my friends
I didn't
here.
mind it.
I'm sorry. So I will say one of my friends here had asked me a similar thing. I mean, literally in the moment of, do you think that's the right call? What I said to him was, I don't think Georgia is. I long story short, take the points. That and the reason I say that is because
What
at that
points?
time, I mean, it was very early in the game. I didn't think that Georgia was just gonna go up and down the field on you.
Right.
Hindsight's 2020, so whatever. Maybe I'm off, and who knows? Like in that situation, if you get it and you score a touchdown and it's 7-7, you know what I mean? Maybe all's forgiven. So I do take that into consideration of the possibility of, hey, maybe we did, you know what I mean? If you did get it, what would that look like?
Yeah.
But I just thought, cutting that to from a 7 point game to a 4 point game, just keeping it close, I thought would put more pressure on
But we weren't.
Stetson Bennett.
But we weren't in field
Um,
goal. But hold on. But we weren't in field goal position. That's the problem. So we were at the 41. You gotta remember where we were. We were at the 42, 41
oh,
yard
okay.
line. This is remember. This is the second possession of the game. Second. This is Michigan's first possession. Excuse me. But
Yep,
Georgia goes up
you're right.
7-0. So
So
it's either punt
nonetheless, I,
or
I
go
still would
for it.
not have gone for it. I
Okay.
would have still
All
kicked
right.
it because I thought that, number one, like, yes, it's a gamble, right? It's a roll of the dice. But my thought was, if you're able to pin them deep and play the field position game, you might be able to get yourself a short touchdown. That
Yeah.
was my thought on it. And to me, when you're balancing it out, for me, and what I thought your defense was better than what your offense is. And not that you're comparing the two, right? But it's how good is my defense and then how good is my offense. And I thought
Yeah.
your defense was higher up on that scale.
Especially coming to this game, I'll agree with that. I mean, you
Right.
would have thought, but see, and here's the thing. Like, I'm not. My answer is I'm not too strong one way or the other, right? Because I understand for a multitude of reasons why Harbaugh made the call and why a lot of people would have preferred to punt it, right? So the situation is potentially from an analytics standpoint, at the 42, 41 yard line, 4th and 4, your offense has a pretty decent chance of converting that. And if you convert that, it's a high chance you're going to get some points on that drive, especially after Georgia just went down in relatively quick fashion, marched down on your defense with the first possession of the game and scored a touchdown. So now you're like, okay, I want to make sure we kind of keep the momentum somewhat neutral in this game. We got to try to find a way to get some points. So I understood why Harbaugh was thinking. And he's made those kind of calls throughout the year. So it wasn't like it was outside of his character. We've seen it at Wisconsin. We've seen it versus Ohio State. So in the bigger games this year, we've seen that aggressiveness in terms of 4th down conversions, right, or attempts. So understand. On the flip side, to your point, Desmond, you understand that your defense still is your best asset throughout the entire year, your defense. And you understand your strength is your pass rush. So maybe you can, if you get them pinned down far enough, maybe you can get some tackle for losses, maybe even a safety. Who knows? Or you keep them far back, you get the ball better field position, and you score easier, right? So I think there are legitimate reasons for both sides. But unfortunately, they went for it. And I did think when, Georgia went up 14-0, that was pretty much ball game at that point. It's just Michigan because this team at that point, I think that's the largest deficit they've had all year. And they're just not built. The way they have built their foundation and how they like to play, it's just not conducive to playing from behind multiple scores like 14 points. Maybe a touchdown, but not like, multiple scores versus a team that you're going to have to, play an entire game with. So, it was one of those things where if Harbaugh gets it, it's like great call, but, it's that's why you get paid the big bucks to be a head coach, those type of calls.